Hello everybody. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a fantastic day, and without any further ado, let's jump right into it. I found this is personal. I found this to be personally quite interesting. It's weird to see like very old news pop back up again within the cryptocurrency space. Remember a couple of months ago, we were talking about, so we know that Bitcoin has NFTs. They're not called NFTs, they're called ordinals, and you like write them on the blockchain. And something interesting that was happening was that people were taking the lowest form of Bitcoin, a Satoshi, the smallest unit, and people were inscribing them. I always say, imagine taking a grain of rice, because, it's tiny, and like writing something on it and then selling it to someone. It sounds nonsensical, especially when you consider the value of one Satoshi has to be less than 1,000th of 1 cent. It's nearly nothing. But we heard that there were a lot of people on different platforms who were actually buying single Satoshis for 15,000, 35,000, like really crazy, insane prices. Some of the really popular ones were things that like were numerically, it was mined under block 111111 or something similar to that, or 121212, and people were finding these old Satoshis that they say were actually mined by Satoshi Nakamoto himself. So, they were finding these coins, they had broken apart, they were all over the place, and people refound them and they were selling for huge amounts of money. A long time ago, I remember hearing that a lot of people had physical Bitcoin. If you remember, so back in the days, the old cryptocurrency wallets were, horrible. Like, they weren't bad, they were horrible. You had to input everything by yourself. It was like building a computer. A bit dramatic, but I remember it was really ridiculous trying to like deal with everything. Of course, they got better as time went on, but the earlier ones were awful, and a lot of people were losing their money. A lot of people were sending their coins to weird random addresses. So remember I told you I had a friend who had all the Dogecoin years ago, and then he like got rid of it as he was moving to another part of the world. He had a like a physical Bitcoin wallet. So what people were doing back then is I don't remember how they, I don't remember what the process was, but people had like literal like pieces of paper that had like QR codes and stuff on them. And that was the representation for the actual wallet. It was reminiscent of like fiat paper currency, but I knew a lot of people who were more comfortable with having any crypto that they had on one of these paper wallets. You can Google it and like see like photos and images of them. It was just a piece of paper that had like a logo of the coin and then like a gigantic QR code and some other numbers and stuff on it. And this is what people were using for a while. At least they were popular. But then someone started creating like physical Bitcoin. And I remember around 2016, 2017, they were still kind of generally spoken about. And then they all but disappeared. If I remember correctly, I think they became illegal in a lot of different places because people were talking about money laundering because, someone giving someone else $400. What a way to launder money. What it was is like a literal physical coin. Like, like when people buy gold and silver, it was a literal physical coin that had like numbers and like colors and stuff on the back of it. And then, like I said, it's interesting to see like old news repopping back up. Apparently, these coins are now like incredibly rare and are selling for a premium. And there's actually an auction that's happening, not affiliated. It's more of a, this is why it's in the news. And they're actually finding out that a lot of these coins are already selling with a huge premium on top of them, just because of the rarity of these coins. And there are a lot of coin collectors who literally not only want Bitcoin, but on a physical coin. It's very interesting. It says well-known auction houses have typically offered rare coins, famous artworks, and other popular assets for collectors to bid on. And they've also started capitalizing on physical Bitcoin as well. It says both Stacks, Bowers, Galleries, and Heritage Auctions are presenting physical cryptocurrencies as part of their upcoming showcases, highlighting collector interest in tangible coins representing popular digital assets. It's called the Bitcoin halving sale. I guess it's taking place before the halving or on the halving. All the coins apparently have a value of more than $1 million, and they're actually basing it off of a $60,000 Bitcoin value, which I think is very interesting because they probably were starting the idea of this when it was around like 40, 50,000. And so they're like, let's see if it even goes above $60,000. Yeah, it says this is the firm's first physical crypto sale of the year, and certainly one of the most significant they've put together since 2021. I think they even have like photos of them. Yeah, physical Bitcoins are essentially cold wallets that resemble specific cryptocurrencies. He added that some of these physical collectibles can contain a public address that is unique to their own, which may be loaded with the cryptocurrency at the time of sale. So if I remember correctly, there used to be tons of YouTube videos about this as well. It's like a literal coin that people would get from whatever company had them. And you would, I'll show you the photo somewhere on here. And it would literally have like a little thing on the back that you could like use to redeem to get some kind of cryptocurrencies, whichever one were on it. But this was also around the time years ago. There were so many different platforms. One of them was really popular. I think it was called Local Bitcoins. And you were literally able to meet someone in person and swap them like paper money for crypto. The problem was, as I mentioned about a year ago in another video, was that people were doing this and some of them were getting robbed in public. Because the most famous one, if I can remember, was I think somewhere in like Denmark or something. And someone was trying to buy like $50,000 worth of Bitcoin in an alleyway. And then you sit there and you go, just a little bit, like you could have been like, hey, let's go to this restaurant with like 900 people around us. That would have made a little bit more sense. But after that happened, a lot of these like physical meeting outside platforms completely dwindled and dried up. And this is when we all saw, I remember having a news article about these like physical Bitcoin things like being illegal. People were saying it had to do with like greater risk of being out in public or some crap like that. But eventually we heard that it was more of a money laundering thing. But this is also when Bitcoin's price was like $500. So the idea of money laundering was also a complete lie as well. I think this is the guy who made them. Very interesting. He has like some on the table. Like it's a literal physical coin, but I think they had, here we go. Wow, that's so long ago. It says these coins with actual Bitcoin embedded in them were sold in 2011 until 2013. Yet sources note that the collections creator Mike Cadwell received a cease and desist letter from the U.S. government, putting an end to the series in 2013. Here's what they look like. It's very interesting. I remember hearing these all the time, but this is also, by the time I got into the market, like people weren't, I don't know how to explain it. They were just more like a really weird novelty. So it's interesting to see that all these years later, like how, oh my gosh, this says 5 Bitcoin. This coin has 5 Bitcoin from 2012. 2012, the all-time high back then, I think, got up to 1,200. But even before that, I think it was like $100 at the beginning of that year. I think it was 2012 with 1,200. That would have been, this coin would have been 500, anywhere from $500 to $6,000 for this one coin. And that's now 350,000 plus because of the premium that's actually on the coin. I actually found a website. I don't know if it's the website, but it's interesting to see as I was scrolling by a lot of the prices for these things, and a lot of them haven't even really been bid on yet, but some of them do have actual 5 Bitcoin in them. Current bid 180,000. I'm sorry. I find this very fascinating to hear these like things like kind of resurfacing back up again. The cryptocurrency space was really different in 2016. I don't know if I've mentioned that before. It was a completely different place. It had a completely different feel as well. You can like gauge a lot of like the greed in the market and like the presence of the billionaires walking around the building now, but back when I got into it, it was such a weird, odd niche thing. I used to try and go to these like events and stuff like that, and there was almost no one there. Like, it was also like, is anyone paying attention to this? But now we know that the billionaires were. Yeah, that's apparently physical Bitcoin is now like a new hyper rare thing. So I can't imagine if we ever end up hitting a $1 million, $10 million Bitcoin, how rare these coins are actually going to be. Insane to think about. That's the physical Bitcoin news. And yeah, let's move on. Also in, I guess, completely expected at this point, this happened a couple of days ago. MicroStrategy, the tech giant known for its substantial Bitcoin investments, has announced that they have plans to offer $600 million in convertible senior notes that are due in 2030. The way that MicroStrategy has worked for a while is they issue debt against their own company and use that money that they got from the debt that they took out against themselves to go and buy Bitcoin. This is how they became quite famous. And I assume it has to do with a monstrous amount of analytics for them to be able to actually even know when to do this. They tend to buy whenever there's a gigantic dip, and or they announce that they are buying, that they're issuing debt against themselves and then using that money to buy as the price is still low or somewhere along those lines. But every time that they do announce that they have bought, the market ends up going up. Every single time. I think we even had before where they purchased 114 million worth of Bitcoin or something like that, and the price also popped up as well. So we can only assume for 600 million, that's also going to have a lot of movement as well. There's also tons of articles still all the time about how much money they've made from all the Bitcoin that they've bought. I think more than doubled or tripled their money, because I think we first began to hear about them when Bitcoin was like, is it 20, 30,000, somewhere around there? I'm not really sure of the exact numbers anymore, but the debt isn't due until 2030. And I believe twice before, we've heard them say that they're issuing debt against themselves, and I think they paid it off within a year, which also champions them more to be like, to take out $500 million against yourself, and then to pay it off within a year, and then Bitcoin's price goes up. You can kind of pat yourself on the back for that. The primary objective of this move is to acquire more Bitcoin and to support business needs. They said MicroStrategy intends to use the net profits from the sale of the notes to acquire additional Bitcoin and for greater corporate purposes. Convertible senior notes, otherwise known as convertibles, are financial securities that function as a loan or investment in an underlying asset, in this case, Bitcoin. Holders of these notes have the option to convert them into common shares of the company. And I think after they made this announcement, their stock price also rose by like 10 to 15% as well, because everyone knows exactly what's coming and exactly how rich this company is. Yeah, not much more to this news. They are constantly buying up tons of Bitcoin. For those of you who don't remember, the CEO of MicroStrategy, the CEO of MicroStrategy is Michael Saylor, and he announced half a year ago that he plans on buying Bitcoin forever. Not for like a while. He said, I'm going to be buying it forever, as will the company. And he also announced they have no intention of ever selling their Bitcoin. So cool, fantastic. We had another crazy video a couple of months ago where I was telling you my own personal feelings as far as like, I don't think one company should have this much Bitcoin, but because, Bitcoin is for you, like it's for the people. But alas, that's the MicroStrategy is going to be buying more Bitcoin. We will more than likely hear as to when they do this. What are the other companies who are also buying all the time? I think it's Tether. Tether's buying every 3 months or 4 months. 4, 8, 12. No, it's every 3 months. There's another company who's also like always buying like on time. There's some other company, I don't remember, but they're also buying like hundreds of millions as well. So when you talk about the supply crunch, it's basically because of stuff like this. Yeah, that's the MicroStrategy is planning on offering $600 million worth of debt to individuals to buy more BTC. And I mean, realistically, like if we get to the point where this time next year or by the end of 2025, Bitcoin's worth 200, 300K, they once again will have like super made their money back. That's the MicroStrategy news. Yeah. Let's move on. I guess so. I don't really know. There's a lot of really weird and confusing news that's been happening the last like 2 weeks or so. I don't know where it is, where it's coming from, why it has become so popular. And I don't honestly know if it was meant to be some kind of a scare tactic. And I say that because there was news that apparently Binance got in trouble. And then that news was that Coinbase got in trouble. And then it was that another cryptocurrency exchange also got in trouble in multiple different countries. And usually when we've seen news like this before, prices have tended to lower. And it was because people assumed that once again, this in the olden days, that Coinbase was Bitcoin. It sounds ludicrous and ridiculous now, but people assumed if something happened to Coinbase, that something must have been wrong with the Bitcoin system. But in the last 2 or 3 years, we've had a lot of like cryptocurrency exchange bad kind of news. And I've always believed or felt that a lot of this news was actually coming from people like Fidelity and BlackRock. I cannot say for certain, but it's more of a, it's kind of like when we always had those articles from like the Wall Street Journal and they kept on talking negatively about Binance and Tether, like for like 7 years in a row. And I was like, why would you spend so much time talking negatively? So we got news that apparently that Binance had to shut down in a bunch of different countries, but then the countries came forward and said that that wasn't true. But then Binance apparently was going off. It's just a lot of things that were happening at the exact same time. Binance, the world's largest crypto exchange, has restricted its services in multiple countries around the world, while completely ending operations in some due to regulatory pressures in these nations. As per the exchange's list of prohibited countries, Binance is not operable in Canada, the Netherlands, the United States, Cuba, I can't say that one. It's the one that's above South Korea, Iran, Syria, and also probably can't say that one because of the algorithm as well. It's like Eastern Europe, right at the border where Europe ends. It's really weird that I find it particularly interesting that Binance is restricted in these very specific countries, and it's like, On the other hand, the leading exchange has faced scrutiny from regulators in Nigeria and was recently forced to shut down all Nigerian trading services on the platform. That's the news that apparently wasn't correct. So apparently there were a bunch of news stories similar to this that were saying that Binance was shutting down and had to close down and blah, 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 blah. I don't have the news story here because it's just too much. Apparently the news story was that senior officials in Nigeria were calling for members of Binance or the CEO of Binance to like answer immediately and to come to Nigeria for questioning. First of all, no one would do that. I don't know why countries even think that that's not ever going to, if someone is like, hey, come to this country for questioning, how about you question yourself? Like maybe video chat me? You know, email exists as well. But then apparently the Nigerian government came forward and said, no, that wasn't at all the case. So who made up those lies and why did these articles become very popular? And then we also got news from Binance who was like, nope, we're still operational. And then the other Coinbase stuff as well. Coinbase also had similar news to this. And apparently Coinbase also isn't banned. So I don't know who made like literal fake news that ended up not being correct at all, why it caught on. I think people just want negative news. At least rather, having been in this space for so long, I've learned that negative news sells a lot more. anytime years ago when I made any video and I was like, hey, Bitcoin's going to go up in price, there's not a lot of Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin did go up in price, it wasn't as popular as any other channel's videos about how Bitcoin was going to zero or how Bitcoin was going to collapse and fall. And I was like, I think people just like drama and like sad stuff a lot more. So yeah, the news is no. Apparently none of this is actually accurate or true at all, except for like the actual countries where it's prohibited. But we went over that a couple of like year ago. For those of you who don't know, for some reason, Canada keeps mimicking the United States, and everything that the US does, Canada has been doing in the last couple of years. Great way to make money. The Netherlands, also kind of odd, because you would assume the European Union, multiple countries would have, rather, the other countries seem to have no problem with Binance except for the Netherlands, which is like great way to make money. And then the other ones, those are in the news. That's the no news. All right. Let's move on. Also in what? That's crazy. What insane timing. Why would you be doing this right now? Blockchain platform Avalanche has announced the launch of the Durango update and has introduced Teleporter, a tool designed to improve communication within the protocol's ecosystem. Teleporter, built on Avalanche's Warp messaging, the platform's native messaging protocol, serves as a developer-friendly interface that reportedly simplifies the process of sending and receiving cross-chain Ethereum virtual machine messages. According to the announcement, by leveraging Teleporter, Avalanche blockchains will be able to share various types of information, including tokens, NFTs, and Oracle price feed data. This coordinated communication will reportedly promote fluid Ethereum virtual machine interoperability, enabling developers to create cross-subnet applications that provide full functionality and a seamless user experience. And then the article just keeps on going, talking about exactly what it is. One, cool. Two, Avalanche is never in the news. And if you haven't been paying attention the last like 3 weeks, I told you at the beginning of this year, as we move closer to the halving, all the coins will start announcing that they have upgrades and updates, and this is happening, and look how many things are happening on our blockchain. I know that Avalanche is used. I know it's not an unpopular blockchain, but I just thought the timing was quite fantastic, simply because as we get closer to the halving and as the bull run revs up, and I mean, let's be completely honest, we're in the bull run right now. I'm not sure if you've seen prices, but what tends to happen is that other chains time their, and I mean, if they're not timing it, then, you know, happenstance is incredible here. Start announcing their upgrades and updates to kind of go with the flow of the prices. Because if you announce that something new is going to happen on your chain, you get into the news, people start paying attention, people start buying your coin's price goes up, Bitcoin's price goes up, everyone's like, oh my gosh, the upgrade worked, people start buying your coin. You know, we have not heard recently about Cardano. They're supposed to be having an upgrade as well. Wasn't it the middle of March? I could have sworn it was the middle of March. There's also supposed to be having something. Ethereum's upgrade, right? What was the other one? There were two other coins who also announced mid to end of March upgrades as well, trying to ride that wave as prices end up going up. Yeah, that's the Avalanche news. I think that maybe just going to do it for this video. A lot of stuff has been happening, like really weird stuff within the space. A lot of my friends are very, very hyped right now. And I'll be honest with you, I'm trying not to be as hyped simply because I go overboard, like mentally, if I see that something really crazy is happening within the market. So the last couple of weeks, I've been excited when we passed by like 59, 69,000, 70,000 also, but I have to like really ground myself because I can get swept up very easily. And I think this is going to be such a Personally, I think this is going to be such a crazy bull run that I think I need to be like relatively level-headed, because the numbers, once again, that we're hearing. I saw an article that was talking about, I mean, right here. How funny. It says it on the screen. It says Ethereum aims for 10,000. Those articles are everywhere. People think that we are going to have a $10,000 Ether by like August, which is crazy because that's the number that people were quoting for next summer, like 2025 summer. So a lot of people are, the hype around where Ether can go right now is, dramatic. So when I keep seeing all these numbers, I have to keep myself level-headed and try not to get too excited, because I have a lot of stuff to do and a lot of stuff to pay attention to. And I'm trying not to get swept up in the idea of next summer 2025 there being a $25,000 Ether, because there's always a lot going on. Yeah, okay. I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you've all enjoyed. I do hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and or supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.